Speaking of Korean dramas, which we were, today I would like to talk about Itaewon Class, the Korean drama that made me question my own pride. Ugh. Yeah. So, to give a quick recap, Itaewon Class focuses on a character named Park Seol-gi who grows up with his father. He has an unusual name and unusual character. People find him a bit strange. He takes his punishments like a champ, but he also has his very strong beliefs about what is right and what is wrong. And we start off with him moving to a new town. Now, his father works for this major restaurant bar corporation and has worked there for many years. However, on Park Seol-gi's first day of school, he manages to meet this chairman's son. The chairman's son is bullying another student and he tries to stop it, not caring that this is my dad's boss's son, and he tries to stop it, and the kid says, "Oh, what are you gonna do about it?" Teacher walks in, he tries to tell the teacher, and the teacher just looks at him like deer in headlights. And then the kid taunts him and goes, "I can do whatever I want because I have money, because of who my father is." And it really rubs Park Seol-gi the wrong way in terms of his moral code and compass, and he punches him. And he says himself that, I shouldn't have hit him, but at the same time, this guy has no respect, has no morals. He gets sent to the principal, where the principal is like beating him while that kid is just chilling out in this recliner. And both parents come. So Park Seol-gi's father comes and the chairman comes. And the chairman says, we would be able to kick you out of school, but we would also be able to look past this if you apologize and you get down on your knees. And Park Seol-gi says, no. He shouldn't have been abusing another student. That's not right. So they say, well, okay, you're going to be kicked out of school. And his father, instead of getting fired like he knows he probably will, he decides to quit. So the two of them walk off, and his father is such an amazing character, because his father really goes, this isn't great. You were kicked out of school your senior year, but you know what? I'm proud of you, sir, for standing for what you believe in. He has his first drink with his father that night, and he says it's sweet, and he's like, that means you had a very fulfilling day. So after that, his father, having quit, is like, let me start my own little restaurant bar. It'll just be something small. However, circumstances as they be, he gets run over and dies. By who? The chairman's son, of all people. And it wasn't actually intentional. It wasn't on purpose. It was, I don't know what he was doing, if he was drunk or not paying attention, but he manages to hit Park Seol-gi's father. And Park Seol-gi, when he finds out, hunts down this kid and beats him. Within an inch of his life, he was ready to kill him. He was ready to throw it all away, if not for people who reminded him that he has his whole life ahead of him and that there's more that his father would want for him than to go out this way. There's a trial that takes place, and if Park Seol-gi did beat this kid because this kid killed his father, he would have had a decreased sentence. However, because the chairman is rich, they were able to get a gardener to take the fall for the son and say that the gardener took the chairman's son's car, believable, and went joyriding and hit somebody. So he takes the fall for that, meaning Park Seol-gi had no legally recognized reason for beating this kid, and so he gets sent away to prison for, I believe, 7 years, 3 to 7 years. In the meantime, the chairman comes shortly after the trial and says, I can help you, and I can help make this go away if you kneel in front of me and my son. And he's like, absolutely not. He's like, the audacity with which you can kill my father and then ask me to kneel before you. Oh, this is when we start to see that Park Seol-gi has his morals and his integrity and his things that he believes in. But at this point, there's a vendetta. And we also see that the chairman has something against this kid too, because you just got your son out of going to jail, but you specifically went to meet up with this kid to try and get him to kneel before you. He was clearly bothered that this kid didn't kneel before him last time and was willing to get kicked out of school last time instead of kneeling. You begin to realize that he has this issue with, I've been able to get all of this power, and yet this kid refuses to bow to me. We learn about the chairman's history and that he had his siblings and they grew up poor, but he had this dream of opening up this restaurant with multiple stories, and his other sibling was like, you'll never do that. They don't make that many stories of buildings. But he's able to say now in present day that he did that, although those siblings did not survive. He's the only one that did. And the whole point of the restaurant, the business that he created, where he's the top in his business, was that he could take care of his family. And we learn all of this because Park Seo-hee, while he is in jail, he found the chairman's book, autobiography, the guide to have a successful business, and he read it and reread it and reread it and reread it. So while he's in jail, he has this plan for his life. He's not caring about what's happening in prison. He's not trying to be one with the prison life. He does not care. As well as there are other people who are trying to make him kneel, and he's like, why does everyone want me to kneel? There are some characters who are like, why are you acting like you can do something with your life out there? And why are you acting as though your life isn't ruined after going to jail? Because in Korea, when you have a criminal record, that changes the entire trajectory of your life. He can now no longer become a police officer like he dreamed of. But he's like, why would I let other people determine what I can and can't do in my life? I decide what I can do with my life. And he said that when he gets out, he's going to start a bar. And this is when you begin to see that since his life has changed, the trajectory of his life has changed. He can no longer become a police officer. He has decided to go against the chairman. So he gets out of jail. He has the money from his father's life insurance, the money from selling the restaurant that his father tried to build. And then he also goes off and does, marine fishing, does this very labor intensive, hard, menial job for 7 years, saving up so much money so that when he comes back, he buys a rental space in Itaewon, this very busy international section. So he did it. He started a bar. So he manages to buy this spot in Itaewon, and it's struggling, but he manages to gather these people who are rooting for him, but he's rooting for as well, who work for him, and he begins to get some success. Then the chairman comes in, tries to get in the way of his rental space, so he manages to buy a different rental space in a more struggling area, and he manages to help those businesses in that area to improve so that more people can come to the area, and he succeeds. So the chairman, what he does is that he gets somebody to sabotage him by pretending that he's going to help them franchise. They invest all of this money into the franchising, only for the guy to pull out at the last minute, thinking that this is going to bankrupt him and he's going to have nothing. But you know what he does? He says, I don't care. And he says, we're still going to do this. And because of that, he ends up franchising so much sooner than he would have otherwise. And throughout this whole thing, it might seem as though the chairman is the only one who's egging him on. But no. During his time in prison, during all of those years of his hard work, not only did he save up a lot of money, he also managed to get stocks in the chairman's company when they were at their absolute lowest. He also managed to get a financial advisor when he had really no money and no job, when he was in jail. A financial advisor who would help him in taking down this company and figuring out the best way to kind of get at it. And who is this financial advisor, you ask? It is the kid that was being bullied by the chairman's son. Chef's kiss. So you have all of these things that are taking place, and he manages to get his company up to the place of being like number 2 or something, but he's still going full steam ahead. And all of this boils up to a point where K-dramas do the things that they do, where you think you're just watching a normal show, and then suddenly here's this gang, and then there's kidnapping, and then we're gonna kill you, and then this car accident, and that's what happened. One of his people and one of his employees, his friends, gets taken, and he also got hit by a car and nearly died. He's told by the chairman's son, if you want her, go to my dad. He knows where I am. He'll have the address. So freshly from the hospital, he approaches the chairman, and the chairman, all old and sickly and dying, says, if you want the address, are you ready to kneel before me? And I'm like, yo, this man has lost his God-given mind. And this is the moment. This is the moment that I'm talking about that actually made me self-reflect. In my head, I'm like, don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. Because in my mind, I'm like, there are other ways to get this address. First of all, when the chairman's son said that you can get the address from my father, you should have gone with the police to the chairman. You should have been there with the police. That way he has to give up the address. You should have already told the police about what was happening. That way they're already looking for her. And then a police officer comes with you to this place to make sure that you get this address. But in my mind, I'm like, don't do it. You can't give these evil people what they want. And there's this whole monologue that's taking place in his mind where he's talking about how there are things in this world that are impossible. And kneeling in front of the chairman is one of those things. I'm like, yeah. But then he talks about kind of the mental shift that has taken place after the accident. And he's thinking about the people that he cares about and what he believes in. And he says, but in this moment, it's the easiest thing to do. It's the easiest thing in the world to do. And he kneels. I'm going to be honest. When his knees hit the floor, I went, I did. It was a beautiful monologue. In this moment, it's the easiest thing to do, to kneel before my enemy in order to save my loved ones. And the episode ends. And then the next episode, the very last episode, begins with him on the ground and the chairman laughing at him and calling him pathetic. And then writing down the address and going, so how do you feel kneeling in front of your enemy? And he says, I feel pathetic. He says, yeah, as you should. There on your pathetic little knees. And he's like, and what about you, Chairman? How do you feel? He's like, huh? What then transpires is Park Seo-yi explains why he feels pathetic. It's not that he's there kneeling in front of his enemy. He feels pathetic because this man had tortured him. He lost his father because of this man's family. He didn't finish high school. He didn't get to become a police officer. He didn't even get the retribution he needed when the chairman's son killed his father, even if it was by accident. And he had dedicated his whole life to getting back at this man for everything that he had done. And in a way, he also admired him because he knew that this man had worked hard. It wasn't like he was just some chebble, just some rich person. He also admired him. He had read that book and reread it and knew that this man had worked hard and he was actually impressed by him. And so he said, I'm going to dedicate my life to taking this man down. And, there's nothing impressive about taking down a weak man, but there is something impressive about taking down an impressive man, an impressive bad man. And he felt pathetic because he was like, in the end, you're just some old grouch who kidnapped my friend in order to get me to kneel in front of you. That's why I feel pathetic. It's the fact that it's not that you deserved it or that you earned it. You use despicable tricks. You threaten people's lives to do so. The chairman himself is dumbstruck. He's like, no, you're supposed to just feel pathetic. Like, but I won. You're on your knees. And Park Seo-yi's like, just give me the paper. So in the end, he manages to find his friends, save them. And because of everything that happened with the gangs and the kidnapping and all of that, the chairman's company is going down. And it needs to sell, and he needs to sell it and sell it quick. But no one's willing to buy it except for who? Park Seo-yi. And so Park Seo-yi is in talks of buying it. The chairman ends up having to come crawling, coughing, and near death, and getting down on his knees saying, oh, help me, crying. And Park Seo-yi's like, what is this? I'm a businessman, and just leaves him there on the floor. And that's the win. That is the win that Park Seo-yi was always looking for. That was the win that Park Seo-yi considered the win of a successful and impressive man. That was a win. Getting someone down on their knees because you put other people in danger, because their life is on the line, that's not impressive. That's not power. That's nothing. That's actually weakness. If I cut you, of course I'm going to make you bleed. Instead of, how can I make you bleed without even touching you? That's impressive. In the end, Park Seo-yi won, and I learned that I have an issue with pride. And I wanted to discuss pride in this moment because when he was on his knees, when he said, in this moment, it's the easiest thing. His thing was always that he was going to care about the people around him. Why did he end up in the principal's office? Because he was trying to protect a classmate. Why did he end up in jail? Because justice, you killed my father, prepare to die. Why did he refuse to kneel even though he could have gotten taken out of jail? Because it wasn't right. He was able to say, I'm not going to risk my friends and their lives just for some pride, just to stand, just to say that, well, I never got down on my knees. And not only is this an impossible thing that I would hate to do, but in this moment when it comes to people that I love and care about, it's the easiest thing in the world. And it begs the question of what is it that we put our pride in? I feel like we all have different things that we put our pride in. And some people are like, well, I have the longest hair. But then what happens if someone cuts your hair? Or my pride is in the fact that I'm a high earning person. What happens if you lose your job? That my pride is in the color of my skin. Okay, and then what happens if you burn in the sun? Or what happens if I don't know, my pride is in being the most beautiful person in the room. Okay, but what happens if another person walks in who's even more beautiful than you? What is it that we put our pride in? There are certain things that should be non-negotiable, the things that we hang our integrity on. And what I can say for Park Seo-yi is that he was the kind of person who he believed in right and wrong. He believed in accountability. He believed in consequences to actions. And he does it in a way that it brought so many people toward him. It brought so many people looking up to him, coming under his wing, and kind of seeking shelter under his leadership. It's kind of like the antithesis of the chairman. The chairman wants people under him who are afraid of him, who are scared of him, who jump when he says jump, and who bark when he says bark, and who are too scared to go against him. Meanwhile, Park Seo-yi, because of his integrity and his character, it draws people under him. People want to be under him. People want to be under his shade because they want to be more like him. They want to have more of his characteristics, and that's actually what happens. The more they're around him, the more they're like him. The chairman is willing to throw people away who are no longer of use to him, whereas Park Seo-yi is always going to keep his friends and his people because of loyalty. Even the chairman, Park Seo-yi's father, was actually a loyal member of his company and created the recipe for his most successful dish, but he fired him over something between two kids in high school without a second thought, and was trying to push him to get his son to kneel. Meanwhile, Park Seo-yi, he was a better cook than his own chef, but instead of firing her, he gave her double her pay because he said, I believe in you, and I believe that you are going to put in the effort necessary to improve. And what did she do? She improved. So it's so weird because they really are like mirror images of each other, but it's warped. And in that moment, the chairman expected that Park Seo-yi would be like him, and he would throw away his friends and throw away his people just for the sake of not having to kneel in front of him, because that's what he views as power, being able to stand and not having to kneel in front of anyone. And so he finds him pathetic that, yeah, you aren't able to throw other people away. You don't have that power. Meanwhile, for Park Seo-yi, his power, his strength is actually in his people, the people that he cares about, in knowing that I'm not going to throw people away and let them die for something as silly and stupid as kneeling. But what am I trying to say? I'm trying to say that I had this question of what is it that we put our pride in? And it can be so easy to put our pride in these silly little things instead of putting it in the deeper things, the things that matter the most to us. We should put our pride in the things that determine who we are, in the kind of people that we are, in being dependable people, in not being hypocrites, in people knowing that they can count on us. We should put our pride in standing up for people and doing what is right, because in the end, the chairman might have felt like he had the victory, like he won, I got him on his knees. But what Park Seo-yi's friends will remember is the fact that he got on his knees for them. He got on his knees to save them, for their lives, that was something he was willing to do for them. And that's something they will never forget. That's something that will confirm to them that he is exactly who he says he is. And while the chairman might have felt like he should have been ashamed of himself, they will never be ashamed of him